is April, and I have been in the MakseLife Companion Notebook since January. And today I'm going to share my thoughts on the system and explain if it is working for me and just my thoughts and feelings about it. A lot of my goals are self-care focused and basically are just maintenance goals, is like a term that MakseLife uses to describe things that you do, habits that are just going to help you maintain where you are, because you're not looking to necessarily improve, but it's just something that's helping you maintain. And before going into this system, I had a lot of habits and routines set up that are working and helping me stay sane. I did experience a period in my life, for those who don't know, where I was under a lot of stress for too many years. That stress being like home with 3 kids, one of them being a newborn, and taking care of them on my own while my husband worked away. I didn't have a lot of routines and habits in place to maintain my well-being. And so it ended up turning into a situation where I burnt out, and I realized, okay, I clearly am living a life that is unsustainable. So fast forward to right now, and I've been practicing a lot of these things for a while. I've been practicing daily yoga since the beginning of 2021, and I was already practicing yoga like before that, but not on a daily basis, and that habit has really helped me a lot as well. But I knew going into MakseLife this go around, I did try it in the beginning of 2022, and it wasn't in the companion notebooks, it was in their inserts. It was like their weekly inserts. I had the vertical layout, and it was punched for discs 7x9, and I was in that for a few months too. I don't know if I quite made it 3 months in, but I think the way I had set that up versus the way I set it up this time, there were lessons that I learned. And I actually explain a little bit about that in my video where I set up this one. So I'll link that up here if you want to see that video. But today I'm really not going to show inside here, but I kind of can like do like a real quick, like for you to see that I did fill out everything in here. And I ended up also moving out of the content planner that I had in the beginning of the year, picked out, and moved all that stuff into here. So the monthly pages in here have to do with my content for like my YouTube channel, and then the note pages in the back, there's plenty of note pages in the back, and I found that that is a really good spot for me to write down every week, like all the things that I've been doing related to my content work. So I was able to kind of condense and put that into here and not have to have that extra planner as well. Okay, so what are my thoughts? Is this working for me? Yes, it is. Absolutely. I know that one of the things I missed when I left it last year was that I didn't have a place anymore for like all these things that I want to do in the week that are related to goals, and none of the planner things that I was doing after that sort of allowed me to break it down that way on a week basis. And I really think that breaking down the goals on the weekly basis into actions is really what has me hooked on the system, and why I think a lot of other people who've fallen in love with MakseLife are loving it too, because the bottom line is what you end up doing is you set your annual goals and you create a habit of returning to them at regular intervals. So I only look at the annual goals when I'm setting my monthly goals. So when I set my monthly goals, I look at the annual goals and I'm like, okay, what goals do I think out of these annual ones can I do for the month? That helps me only pull out a few things that I think I might be able to do for that month, that season. From there, when I set my weekly actions, I only reference my month for that month. So I'm not overwhelming myself by looking at my annual goals all the time. I'm only looking at that once a month. I also was intentional this time around and made sure that I included all of the self-care things that I do every day or like every week in there, even though it like feels kind of silly, but it helps because it fills up the space. It helps me like not feel like I'm not working towards my goals, because those are part of my goals. The things that I'm doing, where I'm journaling every day, or where I'm doing my daily yoga practice every day, where every week I'm doing a social media break, those kinds of things, then it is like having that listed on my weekly actions is absolutely helpful. So then what I do, since this is not an actual planner, after I've got all my weekly actions listed in, let me find one that I can actually show you that doesn't have personal stuff in here that I feel fine about sharing on the internet. Okay, I think this one's probably fine, especially because it doesn't have like any reflections on this side. And that's because this is going into a new month. And so what I did was, on the week where it was like the month was ending, but I also had to do like a monthly reflection, I did away with doing a weekly reflection, because that always feels like too much for me to do a weekly reflection and also then do like a monthly reflection, just too much reflecting. So that's why that's blank. But I want you to see what I mean by like having all the things in here. So if I did not include in here the things that are like my habits and my maintenance type goals, then cardio is one of the newer ones I'm trying to work on this year. And so that I would consider that being listed in here. That wouldn't be like something I was already doing that's working. If I were to only like have the newer things, then something like this would not be in here. Maybe I might have the weekly reflections in there to remind me to do my weekly reflections in my MakseLife, just like the weekly actions to remind me to do this. All these other things probably wouldn't be in there. And these would probably be in there. These would be in there. This might not be in there. That would probably be in there because that's definitely tied to a goal. But like, especially up in here, like it would feel empty and it would look like I'm not working on personal things or health related things, because I would have left out like taking my vitamins or doing my daily yoga and doing my social media break and having my afternoon resets on like school days, or even journaling, like not having that listed in there. It would make it look like in my mind that that stuff's not happening, but those are all things that absolutely are important to me. And these are things I don't want to forget to do. I really don't think I will forget it because I've been doing a lot of this for a while. But having it written down in there like reminds me that I am working on things that are important. And if at the end of the day or at the end of the week, the only things that end up getting done are the maintenance goals, doing the journaling, and like none of the rest of the stuff happens, like I would identify that as still being a success because I completed all the maintenance goals. So I hope that explanation kind of makes sense. But I do really enjoy the process of, at the end of the week, sitting down and doing the reflections. And I did share, it's not on here, it's on the newer one. I did share the other day on my Instagram one that I did. Let me show you that one. I do not use stickers all the time for the weekly actions. I mean, for the weekly reflections, but I do sometimes have stickers. And these are from Monarch Plans. I really love her font, and these colors are just perfect. So it's really easy to just lay that out on here. And these did not come with, these are the coaching tips. I had put them in the bottom on the last one. I'd put them down here, but then I moved them to the top on this time because I felt like last quarter I almost overlooked some of them because it was at the bottom. So I thought maybe this time I'll put it at the top. So that's what I did. I put them in the top for this one, and that's working. So I think that because I intentionally didn't set too many goals, at least in my mind, I don't feel like I set too many goals. If you look at my goals video, you'll see like what the goals are. Some of them have changed. The only thing that really I found that I changed is that I didn't like that I was trying to compete with myself to practice more daily yoga let me see if I show you January, more daily yoga than the previous year. The reason is because, not because I was like feeling disappointed in myself because I wasn't reaching those numbers. I mean, obviously I obviously was disappointed, but I had to evaluate. I was thinking, okay, so what's important here? Is it really important for me to be practicing more yoga minutes than last year? Or is that just like an interesting number to like look at? I figured just because I had the numbers last year that I could try and compete with my own self and improve in that way. However, I started thinking, is that really something I want to do? Because what was happening was I was starting to get annoyed and I was starting to like not want to do my yoga practice. If that makes sense. I was starting to feel a little bit like, because I was like, oh man, I haven't been doing that many minutes. I need to do a longer practice. And then it's like, but I don't want to do a longer practice, or I don't have the time right now to do a longer practice. And so it ended up like mentally feeling like a defeat instead of me just feeling happy and proud of myself for completing yet another daily yoga practice. I was kind of like, man, I didn't do as long as I should have. So, because I didn't like that, and that's not what yoga is about for me. Yoga is about helping me de-stress, and it was causing stress. So, when we got to March, I believe, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to we're going to scratch that goal off entirely. I'm no longer going to try and complete more yoga minutes than last year. I'm still continuing to track the yoga minutes, but I'm not comparing anymore, and it just feels so much better. So I think that part of the process of like reviewing at the end of every month is also helpful in identifying things like that, and reviewing your goals every month in the sense that like you're looking at them to decide what am I going to work on this month gives you an opportunity to see it with a new perspective, because life changes and there's no way that you can tell in the beginning of the year exactly all the things that are going to happen and how you're going to feel, and identify like any pivots and things that you might be making, especially if you have content creation like goals, if you are a content creator, or just, a side hustle type thing. There's no way to really anticipate that far in advance like all the things that you want to do, because some new thing could happen and you want to pivot towards that, and then what could hold you back is like, oh wait, I had this goal to do this. I'm specifically thinking about how in the beginning of the year I thought about these are the courses that I'm going to finish taking, and this is the order in which I was going to take them. And that was good at the time, but then as time went on, I realized, you know what? My priorities have shifted. I really don't want to focus on that one. And because I had listed it out in that other order, I was actually taking no action on completing any of the coursework that I had wanted to complete. So I ended up realizing, like, what am I doing? Instead of making progress, because progress is actually my goal of the year, my word of the year. Instead of making progress, I'm stopped because I had created this goal for myself that is not in stone. Like, it literally can be erased because I wrote it in an erasable pen, ink, and my friction pen. I can erase it and just like fix it and change it to something else. So that's what I did. I ended up crossing it out, or I'm pretty sure I didn't erase it, because I do want to be able to look back at the end of the year. But as the year progresses and I see all the things that get scratched out, because I think that's going to help me whenever next year comes around, for me to kind of be a little bit more realistic about setting the goals in the first place, and understanding and realizing that like things are going to change during the year. So whatever I set in the beginning of next year, if I look at this book by the end of the year and I see all the scratch outs and the things that I moved or the things that I added, I can understand like this is going to change. It's going to move as as life changes. Those are my thoughts about it. I absolutely think it is worth it, especially it being like undated. I think it's a little bit less intimidating to get these little notebooks, and they do fit really well in this Moterm cover that I picked up. It is one that's supposed to be for like a journal, an A5 journal. I'll link it in the description. I got it on Amazon. I got it for a different planner, and that I wasn't thinking about how the cover on that planner was a little bit wider than A5, so it ended up not fitting. So I was like, okay, now what I'm gonna do? And I was like, wait a minute, I think the Moxie's fit in here. So how I have it is I have the current one in there, and then I have the one that I'm covering this up because my daughter wrote something for me and it has her name on it. But it here's the actual goal setting instructions. So it has my annual goals in here, and I have that tucked away in here, and that fits perfect because it's nice and skinny. Then I have all the stickers that are related to setting up my reflections in here because I don't have very many of them to begin with to remind me to use them if I want to. And yeah, it fits nice in here. If I wanted to, I could stick like another one in here too. If I had one of their notebooks or their journals that I wanted to use in addition, I could also fit both of that in there. But it's not, this one's not a traveler's notebook thing, so it doesn't have rubber bands. But the cover did come with like 2 ribbon bookmarks. So that's where I have a bookmark marked in it. So I can easily like pull to the week that I am on. But if you have any questions about it, let me know in the comments. I will be happy to answer any that you might have. But yeah, overall, it's working for me, at least right now. And so I'm excited to see what happens after the second quarter. If you want to see an update after that, I'll probably go ahead and do that. I probably won't do any more planning type videos in this. I'm not quite sure. I'm actually already starting to think ahead about how summer vacation is coming and my kids are going to be home, and I'm a little bit concerned about how I'm going to continue my YouTube channel schedule of 1 video a week while they're on summer break. So I might have to film some things ahead of time. But anyway, that's just like channel news. So if you're not subscribed and you want to see like more updates about this in the future, I'll try and make sure that I update again at least after this quarter sometime. So that would mean in the summertime. So I'll try and do that. And if I don't actually do a video, I'll probably at the very least update something maybe on my Instagram. So make sure you're following me over there too. And if you're not following me here, follow me here so you can get that. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.